and going up little by little, uh, trying to place the sounds in the same place where you feel is the E, and that's all.
Now, the rest, according to me, is developing, so to speak, a knack, the right habits to accustom oneself to singing, but one does not have to be a physicist to master these concepts, so that long study is maybe unnecessary, and maybe people study a long time because the singers, because the teachers do not express themselves clearly.
Yes, probably.
You mentioned a moment ago that if one studies for many years, it is too late. Is there an age after which it is futile to try to make a career?
No. It's late because in so many years you have so bad habits that your voice is getting worse and worse, and this is irreversible.
In the audience tonight, there certainly are many singers who are 35, 40, 45, perhaps older, who would like to start careers.
Well, the problem is to find somebody who engage him at this age.
Prejudice.
Yes.
Against all this.
Yeah.
Why is there that prejudice?
Well, because the people who has in the hands the management of the theaters, they think that somebody who is 40, something is wrong. He didn't make a debut before.
Now, how old were you when you began to study?
I was 30. No, to study?
To study.
Around 20, something like that. No, a little more. To study seriously.
Had you always wanted to be a singer?
Yes.
You were also, I understand, a pianist.
Yeah, I studied 4 years piano.
Is that useful?
It's good.
Yes.
Yeah, it's good to know an instrument.
Do you have coaches nonetheless? Repetiteurs?
I had, yes.
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 And today?
No.
You sing the same roles pretty much now.
Much,
yeah.
yes.
And how old were you when you made your debut?
I was around 30.
So you began studying.
I was 28.
28.
Yes.
You were 28 when you began studying.
When I did my debut.
When you made your debut. So you studied from age 20 or age 26?
Yeah, because I interrupted between Barcelona and Valencia were two years, and between Valencia and Milan another 2 years.
What were you doing?
Without study, because I was at the university.
What were you doing in the university?
In engineer, in industries engineer. I don't know how to call this in.
Industrial engineering.
Yes.
Like Corelli. They say that.
Really?
Yes.
I didn't know that.
Yes. Did your family want you to become an engineer?
Not really. When I told to my father that I would like to be a singer, he said, "Okay, but first, take something. You never know for every evidence in the future. Take how do you say this? A title or something."
Yeah.
And it was easy for me to do it in Las Palmas, this career, and I did it.
You don't look like a Spaniard, and your name one would take for German.
Austrian.
Austrian.
Yeah, but it's funny. But my father was Austrian, but my mother is Spanish, and I look my mother.
You have blue eyes.
Like my yes. Very, very, very similar.
How did you make your debut?
How?
How did it come to pass that you made your debut?
Well, I did an audition in Milan. It was an agent and also the impresario from Cairo. And I did the audition and I sang Rigoletto's aria Duke of Manto aria, Parmi Veder le Lagrime. He was impressed and he liked it very much. He told to me, I never heard this aria singing it that way, with this tremendous perfection, and he engaged me. And you know why? Because my teacher, Mercedes Leopard, in every lesson, at the end, say, now you sing Parmi Veder le Lagrime. But why? Because this is the most difficult aria for the tenor. And if you sing well this aria, you sing everything well.
Why is it difficult?
Well, it is everything there. It's a long fiato,
Long breath.
big legato, recitative, high notes, agilities. Everything is there, dramaticity, intensity.
So you, a tenor with a high D and more, picked it for your audition aria something that only goes to high B flat, or did you do the cabaletta?
No, I didn't do the cabaletta. Nobody used to sing it at that period.
So you didn't, they engaged you without having heard your high C and D.
Yeah. No, I think I sang also the aria of Faust, the aria of
Salut de
Mer.
How did you come to make your first records?
I don't remember.
They say on the street here that you badly wanted to make records and that you put up the money for the records.
Oh, no, never.
No. Uh-huh.
No. The first record I did was, I don't remember now, in Spain was Doña Francisquita. And I was singing Doña Francisquita in the Teatro de la Zarzuela in Madrid, and at the same time Montilla Records was recording Doña Francisquita in Madrid, and he came to the theater and he heard me and he came to engage me to sing Doña Francisquita.
In this country, few people are aware that you've had an extensive zarzuela career.
No.
Not extensive?
No, nothing.
Oh, really?
I only sang on the theater Doña Francisquita, that's all. And I make records, but I never sang on the theater. It's funny.
What about Callare and El Vagabundo y la Estrella?
The two movies?
Yes.
Well, somebody had the idea to make Callare. I didn't want it because I didn't consider me prepared to be an actor also. But they insisted so much, and they say, listen, if you don't do it, we don't do the movie, because at this moment we don't have in Spain another tenor to do it, and already we have this idea, and we spend money, and they convinced me. That's all.
My company, I hope you do not object, sells videotapes of these two movies.
Really?
I have a company called Bel Canto Society, and we publish Opera Fanatic magazine and publish musical editions and do many things.
But they are in good condition because...
Not terrific.
No,
they're passable. No one has returned them, but the condition is not that good.
Not that good.
We would like to find them in really good condition.
I know now in Spain you find Callare in good conditions.
Really?
In the shops. But not the Vagabundo. This is not allowed. I don't know why.
You're not going to sue us for selling?
No.
That's good to know.
I agree with pirate records because I don't like commercial records. And it's not a real thing, Real things are on the stage, live performances.
In short, you don't like the fact that there's no audience or that they take things out of sequence?
Out of sequence, and the microphone. My voice is very difficult for the microphone. I need room, I need space, because my voice has many frequencies, and then I need to travel on the air, and my voice with the microphone here at this distance is no good. And almost nobody knows how to do this.
You like the voice to be surrounded with the
Yes.
atmosphere
Yes.
of the acoustics of the theater.
Then
Yeah.
even with the small machines in a theater, when they are in the middle of the audience, my voice is much better than in a real commercial record.
Fascinating. Who was the tenor who sang A Deo cara in Gaiare, the other tenor?
No, there was only one tenor.
At the beginning, when Gaiare is a student, he goes to the opera and he sees a little bit of Puritani.
Yeah, it's myself.
That is
singing.
you.
Yes, yeah.
I wasn't sure, and I was confused.
Yeah.
And I thought to myself, now, if that isn't Kraus, who is he? Because whoever he is, we should know about him because he's fantastic. So you
It
sang
was me. Yes.
both parts.
Both parts.
I see. Now, what we'd like to do is play some your rib cage. What do you do with the rest of your body? Do you push out, push down, pull up? According to Kathy Wall, what you described is insufficient as a basis for breathing.
No, after I do this, I pull out.
What
I
is
push out. No, pull.
what you push?
out.
What you push out?
All around, all the body, and the stomach gets very, very, very hard, very like a stone. You know, the muscles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there a danger in becoming muscle bound?
No. You know, some teachers, they say that you have to help the sound going out, just going inside with the stomach. But if you do this, you in few seconds you know no more air inside, and also you make a contraction to the how do you call this,
The diaphragm? No.
the diaphragm. Then the diaphragm has to be always elastic, and to be elastic you have to push out the whole time during the projection of the voice.
I almost broke my promise. You can buy tapes from Charlie Handelman, care of
Larger, my voice larger than the other singers.
No, it sounds, according to Kathy Wall, your voice in the new Met sounds almost as large as other singers, but in the old Met it sounded small. Do they mic you, she asks.
Well, I never use tricks like that. I am too serious, too honest, and too professional to do things like that. And I don't heard never that any theater, in even the Met, they use these tricks with any artist. It is not serious, not professional. But I only sang 1 year at the old Metropolitan. It was in the very far 65, I think 64, 65. I sang the last season at the old Met, and of course the year after in the new Met. How can she remember? I don't remember myself. But in any case, my voice was smaller at that period than now. And also, it depends the opera you sing. If I sing Rigoletto, I don't give the volume that I give singing Hoffman.
If you're curious about miking at the Met, read the forthcoming issue of Opera Fanatic.
Reasons, probably. No good teachers. The students, they want to make a debut very soon. Not enough preparation. The difficulties of the engagement. Not so many theaters like before, at least in Europe. Before, to make the great theaters, the great opera theaters, it was the province where so many small theaters that give you the experience before to go to La Scala, for instance. Now, everybody who is studying would like to make the debut at La Scala with a very difficult theater, very difficult audience, very difficult operas. And, you know, this is wrong. Then the problem is there. Because the voices still there, I think so. The problem is how to teach the voices, how to manage a good career.
Patrick Moscato of Queensville.
Well, it's an interesting question. I think this is good to prepare the sound, the open sound. If you use it in the right way, then you use it the mask to make the sound. It's okay, like, and then put the open sound. Then this is okay. I like this preparation to the real sound.
And he asks, what about singing falsetto? Is it a bad thing to do? Is it a good thing?
Well, I don't say this is a bad thing. This is another way to sing. If you use it this way and it's good for you, you make a good career. I don't have anything to object. But it is different technique. This is different sound. It's not a real one. But you could sing with this. I don't say no. Many famous singers had the very, very high note, like after the C, and they have this sound. It's okay. It's not bad.
For those who missed the first part of the program, Maestro Kraus maintained that you cannot learn head voice from practicing falsetto, that falsetto seems to be something apart from singing in head or chest voice. What about voix mixte? What is it? Falsettone.
Is a kind of falsettone, I think so.
What is falsettone?
Falsettone is a reinforcement of the falsetto. I think that what Gilli did it was a falsettone.
What is a reinforced falsetto? I don't really know.
Yeah, it's a development of the falsetto. Yeah, like more close to the real voice.
David Marcus.
Oh. Well, I never heard him in person, and I only heard him in records. And I have to say that commercial records I'm not very happy about. But I heard live recitals, and he was really fantastic. I don't know why. Probably it happens to him something similar that it happened to me, that recording in a studio, they use the system, the equal system for everybody. They put you a microphone in front of your head, and it's not good for everybody. And in a recital, probably the microphone was a little far from him, and could take all the resonance in the air, in around his voice, and for that reason maybe it's better for me.
I myself produce records, and when I record opera,
Till this moment, the best is a kind of arm where in the top is one microphone looking to the ceiling, and the is another in the other extreme looking to the floor, and it is another in front of the voice, and then it takes the whole vibrations in the air, all around the room. And I think this is the most perfect sound of my voice in all those years I make records.
An approach used by the French, by ORTF, the French radio, I believe they pioneered that for recording. People's name, Blauline, comes to mind. The objection to it is that you have to have a space, and it is a vanishing breed, that you are among the last great singers.
Well, maybe in a way this is true. You know, I am continue maybe a tradition who now is going to disappear. And maybe another is a different kind of singing, like we were talking before, that the Verista opera, they don't use to make bel canto. But it depends also on the taste of the public, if they like it or if they don't like it. Then maybe for somebody the way I sing is a little old, maybe. I don't know. I think it's more contrast in my voice, in the way I do. I give more colors, or I try to do it, that the people who sings verista or verismo, because they only think about the volume and the quantity, the amount of voice, and that's all. In this sense, maybe, I don't know. This is too early to say things like that.
In this country, instrumental singing is very popular. Some people believe that each note should have the same color, the same inflection, in the manner of today's instruments, not those of, say, the 18th or early 19th century. Other singers, Adelaide Negri comes to mind, favor having different colors of voice for different phrases. What is your view?
No, I agree. The color has to be always the same. Only you must give a different character. It depends what are you saying. If you are talking about love, or you're talking about hate, or you're talking about war, it's only the inflection and the emphasis in your voice. And then when you have to reduce the voice, but has to be the same color, only the intensity has to change, then I agree. I defend the color in the instrument has to be one. No, like many singers that have different voices, because it looks like different voices if you change colors.
What about Callas, who sang...
Callas change colors, but not change color because inflection. Change color because a fact of technique. Wrong technique, probably.
Is that why she lost her voice?
Probably.
What was she doing wrong?
Well, she songs heavy repertoire, operas not good for her voice, and at the very beginning, she was young and she didn't abuse singing very heavy operas, but at the end she sang everything, Turandot, things like that, and the heavy Verdi, and then many other things, probably the kind of life she conducted, and problems, personal problems, with sentimental problems. Many things could have an influence.
Charlie Handelman, returning to his statement, is a teacher of Spanish in secondary schools. And he says, "Mil gracias por años y años de milagros vocales." Many thanks for years and years of vocal miracles.
Thank you. I say to him, muchas gracias a usted, muy amable, y que sigamos así unos cuantos años más. Because I didn't have time, because I sang only Don Giovanni, Don Ottavio, the only opera I sang and on the stage, and for very few occasions. Then I don't pretend to be a specialist, but I could be probably a specialist. And you never know, maybe in the future I will come back to Mozart.
And Feldman asks,
now after the great names we have at this moment, it is a little like a hold. and we hope that, I hope that from the one who are starting the career now, some good elements will come out. But I can give you a name, a tenor who is an Argentinian, Raúl Jiménez, who is starting pretty good. I hope he will continue in that line. And he started like a very, very light tenor, and now he's singing a little more like in operas like Barbara Seville, Sonnambula, and probably very soon he will sing also Puritani. He's going in this line. Then I give him my good advices when he needed, he asked for, and I wish he will have the talent enough to continue in that way.
A few months ago, we played his CD here on
Really?
the program, and the listeners, for the most part, liked it, and they are among the...
About Merit, I think he has a very strange voice, like it looks like a baritone, and then like a heavy tenor, and finally like a light tenor singing falsetto in the very high notes. And what I don't like in him is the style. He's able to sing everything, but without the fineness and the style we needed to sing this kind of programs, this kind of operas and authors.
What specifically is lacking in his style? Do examples come to mind?
No line, legato, and kind of something who's out of the author, of the period, of the line, of the style. It's very difficult to explain.
And what about Rockwell Blake?
This I don't remember now. I don't have the voice here present in this moment.
Ann Feldman asks, will you ever sing Hoffman in New York?
I did.
Yes, but will you again?
Oh yeah. Next year, I think in the beginning of December.
Ann Feldman loves.
I don't think so. I think we are very different in the technique and maybe in the style. But Gedda was is a real good, fantastic tenor, and he had a tremendous repertoire. He sang everything in French, in Sweden, in German, in Italian, in Spanish, and I think that he has the biggest amount of records that anybody else. He sang French repertoire, German, Russian. He sang opera. He sang lied. He sang songs. Everything, and I have to say that in a fantastic way.
So he is a counter example, somebody who did not take the advice to specialize.
Yes.
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 In what ways are you alike? In what ways are you dissimilar, you and Nikolai Gedda?
Well, the voice is different, the technique is different. I have more head voice than him. He has the facility to make also falsetto in the very high notes, like the high D and the high Cs. I don't have this facility. I don't sing everything. He sang so many things that I don't do that. I don't know on this style. The only tenor that I can see some similarity is Tito Schipa, even with different voices, but in the way we how do you say this in English? Porgere il canto, the voice.
That the way in which you carry the voice is
carry the voice in the style, but not in the technique. Yeah, in the way to say, in the diction also.
How is your technique different from Schipa's?
Well, I don't think Schipa had the same technique that I have. He sang more open, probably. It's very difficult to explain. I don't feel that he put the voice in the same resonance I use.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience that you are right. I studied with Schipa for a time. He even gave me an endorsement as his successor. However, I ultimately abandoned the method. If one can speak of Schipa as having had a method at all, the lessons consisted of long scales for the first half hour, and he never said anything during the scales, except for this. He always wanted the vowel ah pronounced ah, very broad, with a very wide mouth. He resembled callus.
Well, you see some really some sounds very similar, but I don't think she's like Callas. She's different. She's Aliberti, even if some sounds are close to the sounds of Callas. In any case, Callas had a different personality. She was more deep in the character of the role. This girl is probably too young to have the same feeling that Callas had for the roles. She must wait probably a little more to give more personality in the roles that she has to sing. In any case, is only one opera I heard from her, because I never heard her before, and it's too early to talk about Aliberti. I think she has a wonderful future, and we will see what will happen in the future with not only with Lucia but with other operas.
What do you think of her vocal technique?
Well, vocal technique, everybody needs advices, and I think she needed to. You know, is what I say is about virtuosismo.
Virtuose, there's no good English word, virtuosity.
Yeah, is to give some touch here and there, some details, some perfectionaments in the voice. How do you? I don't.
Some ways of becoming more nearly perfect. Some advice on how to improve.
Yeah, it's how you go to be a doctor to university, and then you go to be doctorated in a hospital with a different laurea, a different
with
diploma.
Different kind of, yes. What advice would you give Aliberti?
Well, how to project the voice without change colors, and how to be very safety in the high notes.
What is she doing at this time in that regard, with regard to changing color and high notes?
Well, I think she puts too much dark in some sounds, and then some sounds are a little close, like close the chits. You know what I mean? When you open your mouth and you close here, it seems, it sounds something like that. Then,
I'm not sure. Let me see if I can describe that.
Yeah.
When you open your mouth and
do this.
it's as if the cheeks were squeezed in rather than expanded with the lifting that Alfredo Kraus advocated earlier, lifting the cheeks slightly, smiling ever so slightly. She seems to do the opposite. It's as if her mouth were caved in.
Yeah, with a dark color, artificial color inside. Then for me, he has to give more white color in the voice, in order to have more facility in the top, because if we give too much in the center, it takes off facility to go to the top, to the very high notes, and then she has to give less weight in the middle, in the center of the voice, more light, to have more high notes.
And what about achieving uniformity of color?
Well, the color has to be uniform. Only change the different inflections in the voice. It doesn't mean anything.
On the subject of your Lucias, what do you make of Sutherland?
Of Sutherland?
Sutherland.
Well, Sutherland was a phenomenal voice. The technique, the possibility to play with the voice in all the registers and the agilities, the facility, the tremendous speedy in the voice and the facility in very, very high notes was unbelievable. Only it was for her a difficulty to pronounce, to have a clear diction, but this is a different point.
Why is it that her diction was opaque?
Why?
Yes.
Probably because in the way she sings is covering or making the dark sounds.
Now, according to her, in the middle voice, she places far forward in the face, on A or B flat or B above the staff. She changes to a placement at the top of the head.
Probably.
Rather different from the technique you advocate. As I understand it, you advocate maintaining placement in the area above the nostrils in the cheeks.
You have to maintain the position in the mask, and if you go down, you must give more cavity, but without to abandon the position in the mask.
Returning to Peter Turner, acting training.
It looks like, but we don't need it. If you push the voice up, the voice is covered by your head.
Now, according to Peter Turner, he himself, a singer, covers on U, the French U. And according to him, its covering is just a placement. I'm not sure that I agree and wonder what you think. That covering is just a placement.
No, I don't think so either. But if you use the position of the U, it's close to the E, but is more darkness in the U, and then when you pronounce what happened? Oh,
Now, Tagliavini and Bergonzi agree with Peter Turner. Sitting in that same chair as you, Tagliavini, for example, said that covering is an impostazione, a placement. But he did not go into details.
Yeah, but it's not normal when you hear. If you are American and you don't speak Italian, you learn how to pronounce one word with E, and you instead to say E, you say U. It's terrible because it's not the same. I don't. You say, for instance, give to me, and you say give to me. And unluckily, many Italian singers, men and women, they do the same error, and when they say se, they say se. No, this is good for French, because in French you have and e, but in Italian it's e.
Tell me if I'm right. When you attack on those vowels, I believe I sense a certain coup de glotte would be too strong, stroke of the glottis, but still you give a rather firm attack to those vowels. What is your feeling about the coup de glotte, the stroke of the glottis?
I don't think I use the glots.
In singing, I don't think so, but just now I thought perhaps you did. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Now talking?
When you were demonstrating, I can't really do a coup de glotte. But
maybe this is different to talk to. In general, when I hear students and they use a ha no, to attack. And I say to them, this is wrong. You have to think that the sound comes from outside and comes from the top to your head and then goes through the mouth. Then it's not ha, but it's ah. It's coming from outside. Then you don't touch the glots.
Now, just now, it was as if you used what happens to be my particular placement with the sound coming in from here.
Yes.
Yet you advocate, that's to say, from the top of the head, a point between the ears but at the top of the head. Yet you advocate a placement in the cheeks.
Sure.
By the nose. How do you reconcile the sound coming in from on top with the placement beside the nose?
Yeah, but this is mental.
Yes.
It's mental explanation. You work with sensations, with the meaning of the words. You know, you have to make examples inside your body. You don't work with something that you can touch or see. We don't see our instrument. We don't touch it, and we don't hear it in the right way. Then we have to work with sensations and with imagination. And then I imagine that the sound comes from outside, inside my head, and then come through the mouth, projected out. And then I don't touch the glot and the throat.
Now, Caballé advocates attacking with the glottis.
Yes,
yes. I happen not to like it both for vocal reasons and musical. Sometimes I feel that when there is an upbeat, the beginning of a phrase, she will impart an ictus, a kind of emphasis to the upbeat, whereas the upbeat is meant to build toward a climax, perhaps on a dissonance late in the phrase, on the final downbeat of the phrase. But with Caballé, you get an accent because of her vocal method involving striking the glottis. What is your feeling about her way of attacking?
Well, I don't like this way, of course. I think it's wrong. But in any case, she said at the television in Spain that Alfredo Kraus technique is not good for everybody. But I would like to say to her, do you ever try my technique? Then how could you say that it's not good without to try it? In any case, I feel that everybody would be better with a kind of technique that never touch your glots and your throat. Then I can demonstrate that I am singing for 32 years and my voice is still fresh and I still have the high notes, and I never cancel one performance in 32 years. Then something must be good in my technique.
What is it specifically that you dislike about her technique? Do you think it is unhealthy to strike the glottis?
First, it is unhealthy, I think so. Second, the full voice is not in the head, it's not a head voice. Then the quality could be much better if she used the head voice, the head placement for the voice. And when she uses it when she does falsetto or mezza voce, but she doesn't use when she sings in full voice.
When she sings full voice, the voice a little bit lacks a center, a core.
Yeah.
When she sings with less than full volume, at its best, the tone has remarkable sheen, smalto, but the full voice
is not so.
No, yeah.
Yeah, because it's not in focus.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I'm happy because somebody agree with me, or I agree with somebody sometimes, because in general I disagree with all singers and teachers.
Well, you were the first guest to agree with me. Usually guests such as Zeani say, oh, Stefan, with those views, you're bound to lose your voice very quickly because you don't cover, or others have said because you don't believe in the coup de glock and so forth.
Let them say.
So for me, actually, it's a thrill to finally find a great singer who agrees with me after all these years. With Caballé, what else do you make of her? What do you think of her art, of her breathing?
Well, I repeat that we are talking at a very high level. No, we are here analyzing with crystal. How do you call the
crystal lens?
Crystal lens.
Yeah,
yes, very big, just to find
a
small things.
Magnifying
but you know,
glass.
she's a great singer. She's a fantastic singer, and you know, she doesn't need my advices or yours, I imagine. But because we are here analyzing just with this lens, crystal lens,
magnifying glass.
Magnifying glass. Then we have. I said all what I said, but I don't feel any particular thing about the breathing because I had to be close to her, and I have to have I need to have the sensation and to see the movements, and I don't see it, and then I don't know how it works with the muscles in the diaphragm or not.
Continuing, Peter Turner claims that the difference between falsetto and head voice, he gave the traditional distinction that falsetto note cannot crescendo to a fortissimo, whereas with head voice, the pianissimo can be expanded. The traditional view is that if you try to go from falsetto, manage to do that, and
maybe yes, could be possible. Yes.
Don Goldberg.
It's not a problem with the microphone. Yeah, it's not the same to sing with the microphone close to you that to sing on the theater, where the orchestra is between you and the audience, and it's a big orchestra. Then it's so difficult to fight against the orchestra and in a theater.
Really, instrument by instrument, there are major differences between the orchestras of 100 years ago and those of...
I have to admit I'm not very, very enthusiastic about Caruso and Gili. Some things I like it very much, and other things I didn't like it. Caruso's technique, it wasn't completely in the head. It was a little, what we call in Italy, technique on the neck. I don't know if it's in America they use this term.
On the neck.
On the neck, yes. Here.
Pharyngeal?
The technique, and not really on the throat, but not in the head. Something in between.
The placement
with the support here.
Squarely in the neck, perhaps in the general area of the larynx, maybe?
Perhaps, yes.
Back in the throat, maybe?
Not completely back in the throat, just mezza strada, metà strada.
In the middle of the road.
Yeah, but some things he was fantastic, and some other things I didn't like it. He used to, I don't know, on the theater, but in records, to sing many operas from a light repertoire, and I didn't like it very much.
Which records do you like and which don't you?
Well, Pagliacci, I like it, and Aida, and Neapolitan songs also, he was fantastic. But in the light repertoire, Per Fischer or Elisir, I am not so enthusiastic.
Was the sound too thick?
Thick, yes. Thick and no with grace, no.
Compared to Julian Gayare, supposedly he lacked sfumature, nuances, shadings.
Yes.
The contemporaries complained.
Yes.
He was virile and exciting, but comparatively unpolished and lacking in style. So they said in the 90s, the 1890s. What about Gilly?
Gilly, also the same, because when he started to sing, he used a lot of falsetto. It was something like to sing out of his real own voice. It happens also to Lauri Volpi. Lauri Volpi had a heavy voice, and when he tried to sing pianissimo, and to sing delicate things like the Rêve or Le Rêve or Manon, he was out of his own particularities. It was something false, something artificial.
What was Lauri Volpi best at? What should he have been singing?
Well, it was good at the beginning because the voice was lighter, singing Rigoletto, because of the facility in the high notes and the top. But later, developing the voice and started to be more heavy, dramatic, he was very good in operas like Turandot or even Trovatore and things like that. He could sing until he was almost 70, the heavy operas with big facility.
Howard, excuse me, is there somebody at the door? We've had a flood here at WKCR and many things aren't functioning. I'm not sure if that's about. Sorry to trouble you. My father heard Lauri Volpi at the Met in the early 30s and claimed that in live performance he shouted that on his records he does a lot of almost crooning, singing mezza voce, falsetto, quasi falsetto, but that in person he was really very much of a vulgarian, a cafone, very crude, yelling, according to my dad.
No, it's something unbelievable in this personality, because he was a very cultivated man. He was able to make books, to write books, but very well. He was very intelligent and very clever. But for the singing, I don't know what happened in his mind. He tried maybe to push too much or to arrive to the audience in an easy way, and for that reason, maybe also in the records he tried to be different, to be maybe with a different personality. And maybe he was afraid to try with the audience to make finesses in the voice, like mezza voce and falsettos and things like that. He was afraid to don't be able to do it, and in the records he could repeat it.
Michele Simone says marvelous.
Well, of course they use a different technique than me, but the results talk instead of me. And I have seen both of them, and I admire them for years, like great artists and great singers, because you can be a good singer with the elements you have at your disposition and with the qualities you have, and what in the way you manage your voice, it doesn't. It's different to have a good technique to be a good singer. There are two different things. You could be a good singer with a good technique. You could be a good singer with a technique so-so.
What are the differences between you and Bergonzi and you and Vickers?
Well, They don't use the same technique. They, of course, they don't. You say that Bergonzi says to cover and say don't cover, and also Vickers is is unbelievable in the way he sings. I remember once he was in Dallas and he sang the same night Dido and Pagliacci. And it seems two different artists with two different voices. He was able to sing Dido in the whole opera with a mezza voce, and singing Pagliacci with a tremendous feeling, dramatic feeling in the voice. But the technique is completely different than mine, and I don't agree with this kind of technique. But I say again, the results are important in this profession.
I'm not sure that I understand Vickers' technique. I really don't have
I don't understand
clear
either.
idea. Yeah.
I don't understand, but he has a particular way to manage the voice.
According to Bergonzi, he believes in placing primarily, as I understand it, behind the eyes.
Yeah.
He was here discussing vocal technique, and the listeners and I interviewed him, and the results will be published in the next issue of Opera Fanatic magazine. I must say, I found it very difficult to follow much of what he said about technique. It made a lot of sense to him, but it was difficult to comprehend.
To understand.
Yes. He felt very strongly about it, but I confess, when I transcribed the interview, I ended up omitting much of what he said because I thought that, well, I was presumptuous enough to think that if I did not understand it, that probably few would. And Miss...
Well, always to continue to sing the same repertoire, and I will be now in Japan after to sing here at the Met for concerts, and then back to Barcelona to sing Lucia with John Sutherland. And in December I will be in Berlin to make a record, Italian music with piano, and then I will have a concert in the Musikverein in Vienna in December. In January I will have a concert in Florence. Then I will sing in Vienna again at this Favorita in concert at the concert house. Then Werther at the Staatsoper and Hoffman at the Volksoper. And then in March I will be in Madrid to sing Rigoletto. What happened again? In April, we're going in April. Well, don't remember. I have to sing again in May in Barcelona. No, I have to come back in June here to sing Lucia again at the park, and in July I go for holidays.
What will you be singing on the record of Italian music with piano?
Well, different things that I did before, some Donizetti, some Liszt Petrarca's sonetos, and what is else? Some Mascagni songs, Verdi songs, Respighi.
Those Liszt songs seem to me very difficult. Apparently, by the way, they were written for Rubini. Liszt and Rubini did a tour, and they had a disagreement because the King of Holland gave them each snuff. Do you know the story?
No.
He gave them each snuff boxes, and Liszt was incensed because Rubini's snuff box was worth far more than Liszt's, and Liszt was incredibly jealous of Rubini because he got
Really?
more attention. And in Germany, they had many disagreements, and they were supposed to go on to Russia, but Liszt decided that he would not continue, and Rubini went on his own. But in any event, Liszt apparently did write those three songs for Rubini. On the one hand, the tessitura is so centralized, and on the other hand, the songs go so high to D flat.
This is a little difficult.
Yeah.
Yes.
Huh. Where did you find the Mascagni songs here in this country? No one can find them.
Well, I find it just for a friend. It's not on the shops. It's impossible to find it. Yeah. Well, I have to say that he knows how to accompany singers and voices. And I remember 1 year I sang here Werther with Crespin, and he was the conductor, and he was very good without one rehearsal, no one rehearsal in the orchestra. And for me, he's okay. He knows the voices, and I think he doesn't pretend to be protagonist. He pretends to serve the opera and to accompany the singers.
Now, supposedly Muti gives the singers no leeway. Muti dictates everything.
Yeah.
Muti also is against abbellimenti, ornamentation.
Yeah. Well, high notes.
What are your perceptions?
No, I had discussion with him because I don't agree. In the orchestra, it is a final thing. When you are going to the end of an aria, you feel that the orchestra is going to the end. Something is going, omitting the rhythm or the instruments or the sonority. And why don't do this same in the voice?
Yeah, there's no climax.
There's no climax. And I told him, he said, but the author, listen, I said, the author authorized the singers to do the high notes. And now it's something that we have to respect, is the tradition. The tradition and the taste of a period of the opera.
I find myself detesting what Muti stands for and thinking him a Philistine, but loving the results he achieves with the orchestra because he is a consummate craftsman and musician.
Yeah, but this is the bad thing, that in the opera, singers' voices are no more protagonists. It's the orchestra, and this is wrong.
Louis Tenor, the tenor.
Like a musician, I have to say that for me it's more important the cavalletta in Traviata than the cavalletta in Rigoletto, musically talking. And also, it's Traviata cavalletta is like Pira in Trovador. Is the aria plus cavalletta, and the character of Alfredo comes more out and more convinced with cavalletta than without cavalletta. After the beautiful, unbelievable aria that is Parmi Veder le Lagrime, cavalletta is nothing, musically talking. It's nothing happened. The audience feel like nothing. And for that reason probably was cut always before.
Robert Rusk continuing asks or says, it sounds as if you have changed your vocal method to make a darker sound. Is this to accommodate the passing years?
No, the technique is the same. Maybe I discovered that using this same technique you can give more cavity in your voice, more space, but that's all.
What do you mean by more space in the voice? Howard, I'm sorry, we're going to say... No. What do you mean by more space in the voice?
Well, I have my point of view. When I start to sing, I just use it one tone, and I couldn't give it more and less. Now I use the strength, and I can augment it. That I couldn't do it before, and just thinking that if your head is your harmonic box, and you give more head, more bigger your head, you have a bigger harmonic box. Then you can go from the natural sound to a bigger, just thinking that you augmented your cavity in the head.
Rob claims in his book, La mia vita, I miei successi, My Life, My Successes, published, I think, in
but
82.
he couldn't sing like a bass.
He claims he could, but...
No,
yeah.
well, I don't think so. Something like baritone, maybe, you always... But to make a career like a baritone, I don't believe that. You can sing one piece here and there, but for years singing like a baritone, no, he could sing a little more higher with a different technique.
Patrick Giles asked...
I knew other singers, even during the Callas period, that had the same color in the voice, the same way to put the position of the mouth that I was talking about.
Yes.
Before, that used this
with a sort of a
even men,
cheeks.
even men that they use this system, and then the sound is a little touching the tongue and the cheeks,
What is your assessment of Milo?
I don't
You've
have
not heard
any reference. No.
Let me see more listener comments. Robert...
Fantastic voice. But for me, she started too early to sing the very heavy roles and the dramatic parts. And for me, she could be for years singing like a lyric, a full lyric voice.
What is the problem in singing dramatic parts early?
The problem is that you push, and you don't have the you don't have the conditions to sing dramatic when your voice is lyric. Is something against nature, and you have to pay for this. Resist for years. At the beginning, during the very, very beginning, during 3-4 years, you are young and you're full of strength, but after, you don't have the technique. It's impossible. And I remember one proverb and that used to say in Italy, sing with the interest, never with the capital. And also another one that my teacher used to say, the stage create the artist but ruin the singer.
That's interesting. What does that mean?
That means that you really give more in the character of the role, and you become an actor, but you forget about singing because you push, you give too much, and you don't go back to the studies.
Now, Mr. White...
I don't remember exactly. I think it was Mr. Montilla, when after I did for him Doña Francisquita and the first Alfredo Kraus of Spain, and when I came here, he said, I can arrange a television show for you and Jackie Gleason. And I said, okay. That was all.
What was Gleason like to deal with?
Well, I felt that he didn't understand very much about opera and singers. he didn't care very much.
Was he hostile, or did he view you as an obstacle to what he was doing?
No.
No. George Loomis of Wet and the optional C sharp. Have you sung those notes? In
The C sharp?
In Tu che addio, there is an optional high C sharp.
No, I never did it. I do the C sharp, even is not an option at the end of the concertato, but not in the aria.
According to me, the C sharp in Tu che addio is very ugly. The way
It is.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the E flat in the duet? Is that something that you don't sing?
Well, I don't know. I did it once in Buenos Aires. Who was the soprano, the Holland soprano, Deutecom. But the conductors they don't like it. They say that there's probably something wrong.
Merlin lets you take optional high notes. That's one of the things I like about his conducting at the Met. He's one of the few Met conductors.
Who's that?
Muller.
Müller.
Yeah.
He lets people take.
And in the record we did the sopranos sing the E flat and I sang the high C.
Yes.
Yeah, but repertoire.
Why is
If
that?
you sing dramatic and you sing lyric at the same time, something must be wrong. Something must be bad.
Why
I don't
is
know
that?
which one. One or another is not perfect. It's not good, because you need different voices.
As you pointed out, years ago, the same singers sang everything. Somehow these categories were not so hard and
Well,
fast.
I told you before, Gallare sang Lucia and Aida and Gioconda, but the orchestra was smaller, and also the stage was almost in the middle of the audience, covering the orchestra, and then they placed themselves just in the middle of the audience, and then it's easy to sing like that without to push, without to fight against the orchestra to win this barrier.
Patricia Beretta asks, if you could sing one spinto role, which would you choose and why?
Spinto, wow. Bohème.
Why is that?
Well, because it's a beautiful part for the tenor. It's very nice, very beautiful. But Bohème is almost for dramatic tenor, and the evidence is that all the lyric tenors start to sing Bohème in pitch, and after 3 or 4 years they don't sing in pitch anymore. Yeah, you realize that? Just because pushing, they give too much sound in the middle of the voice, and then lose the high notes.
They all, Pavarotti, I suppose, is the best known example, come to transpose Che gelida manina, at least a half step.
Everybody does it now.
Yeah. Ralph Marino, the
What we say, he's calante, he's
flatting.
flatting,
Yeah.
yes.
What about Pollione? Mr. Latimer continues. Have you ever sung that?
No.
Too low, too heavy?
Yes.
Mr. Latimer finds the program highly educational.
Thank you.
Well, shall we go to your CD?
Yeah, and he will use it, my technique, or the technique I use is not mine, of course. He will have more high notes, and he could stay probably in the same repertoire when he started. Because also one of the reasons I believe that tenors or singers goes from the lyric to the dramatic is because they cannot maintain the quality in the lyric singing, because the lyric singing is more difficult. You have to make colors in the voice, you need high notes, you need mezza voce, how to reduce, how to make it diminuendo, and you don't need it in the Verista opera. Then you sing the whole time forte, and that's all. Then for that reason, many singers, they must go to a heavy repertoire because they are not able to continue in the lyric one.
What do you make of Carreras' technique? What do you suppose he does?
What I suppose is what he doesn't does. What he doesn't do.
What is that?
Well, he doesn't place the voice in the mask, and he doesn't press the air column to go to the high notes.
Mr. Weinberg continues. You sang Cherubini's Alibaba.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you no longer do rare operas?
Well, there is no demand, and the theaters, they don't engage me to sing this opera.
You are great, one of my favorite singers. I can't wait until Friday's Lucia, Mr. Weinberg concluded. Bert Wexler, the critic, one of the critics for the Daily News. Stefan, I'm jealous. Tonight is a great, great program. I first heard Mr. Kraus in 1961 in Florence. He was the discovery of my 3 years in Europe. And when I returned, I told everyone about him. Speaking of made voices, manufactured voices, what of Cesare Valletti and Nicola Rossi Lemeni?
Cesare Valletti, I never heard him on the stage. Then I don't have enough elements to judge him now. But he was a very fine singer, and I think also he had very, very good taste. Rossi Limeni was a fantastic actor. He is a fantastic actor. And when I heard him, the voice wasn't the same. I don't know what is true, but people say in Italy that he had an operation in the chords and changed the quality of the voice. This I don't know really. It wasn't a nice quality. It wasn't not really, but he had a tremendous feeling and a big communication with the audience.
What of Helge Roswenger? Do you happen to be familiar with his singing?
With
Helge Roswenger, the Danish tenor.
Yes, not familiar. I heard him at the end of the war. He came to the Canary Islands, singing with a soprano. I remember even the name of the soprano, Valentina Arlo, but she wasn't good.
How do you spell?
He was very good.
For what we will publish, how do you spell Arlo? That's a new name to me.
Arlo. Valentina. I think it was double A R L O O, something like that. Valentina Arlo. I don't remember exactly, but something like that. And he was really something unbelievable. You know, I was very, very young in the Canary Island, and I got impressed about what I heard. And years later, I heard him singing in Barcelona, Fidelio, and he was fantastic, with a good technique and a tremendous high notes.
Continuing, Bert Wexler declared, in Werther, you built to a fortissimo by starting inaudibly, and it was wonderfully effective. And he wonders if you would share perceptions about contouring dynamics.
Perception about it's what I told you before.
Yeah.
You start, and you think that you are growing your head to have more sound. Yeah, it's unbelievable how in this kind of profession it works the intensity in the way you manage your mind and with examples and with imagination.
Peter McKay, in your career, is there one special performance that you remember most fondly?
No, really, only one. I remember a few performances with fantastic memory and very fondly. We were talking before about, somebody talked before about Favorita here in Carnegie Hall, but I remember Favorita in Buenos Aires. It was even more applause than here at the Carnegie Hall. And so many others, Callas Traviata, but my memories in Lisbon, and many performances in Vienna, opera like Lucia, Werther, and Hoffman, and Daughter of the Regiment.
Mr. McKay continues, will you conduct someday?
No, I don't think so.
And he concludes, gracias por la compañía de suerte.
Igualmente a usted.
Harry Melendez of Jersey City, a first-class show. How do you find working at the Met?
I like it. I'm very happy. It's a kind of tradition for me at this point of my career to come here every year, at least once, and to have this contact with the marvelous audience here in New York.
Have the Met administration offered you a Elysir or the Duke recently? Mr. Melendez continues.
Yes, but what is very difficult is to be free when they offer to me the dates of those performances. Then at the moment I couldn't be free, and I can accept it only when I am free, of course. And then for the future, I don't have these two operas for the moment.
Mr. Melendez notes in the New York Times, you said you wanted to sing Chenier. I'd love to hear you in Ballo.
No, I wanted not. I would like to. But I don't have in mind to sing no Chenier, no either Barlow.
At Romeo, a couple of ladies thought Domingo was singing instead of conducting. This for Romeo at the Met recently with Domingo conducting. I told them, no, Kraus is singing. Who's that? They wanted to know. They were disappointed because they were big Domingo fans. I said, listen. Well, after I left Trois Soleils, they applauded and cheered. You conquered them.
Thank you.
Herb Levine of Brooklyn. The technical stuff tonight is coming across very clearly. Yes. In the past, many singers here have been more or less incomprehensible, speaking about their own singing methods. So tonight, in many ways, I wholeheartedly agree, is a revelation. And Mr. Levine continued, Valetti seems akin to you, Alfredo Kraus, in style and repertory. Peter Barron of New York City. On records, who has the most beautiful tenor voice?
On records. Probably Pavarotti.
Of all tenors ever to record,
I didn't understand.
well, of all tenors on records from the 1890s until today, would you pick Pavarotti?
No. In this moment, I think Pavarotti is the most beautiful voice on records. But in the past, there were somebody else like Fleta or Lazaro or Cortis. I said before.
Leo Hirsch asks, if you had to pick between Pavarotti, Carreras, and Domingo, which would you choose?
Domingo, probably.
On what account?
Well, I think he's more elegant and he's more musical.
Peter Barron continuing. What of Jan Pierce and Domingo and their techniques? Do they have sufficient head resonance?
I don't think so.
Gary Fishman of Brooklyn. Your technique works for you, and you'll be singing well after Domingo and Caballé are just memories. However, Aliberti will exhibit her own sound regardless of Callas. Why does Milo get so excited against Aliberti? Her career isn't threatened. Ralph Marino. I'm enjoying the Kraus CD of Arie Antiche, and it does have great sound. And he asks for information about a dead Spanish tenor, Luis Mariano.
Oh, yeah. Well, Luis Mariano was, for me, was a great singer with a good technique. But he chose, I don't know why, the easy way of the operetta, and he was very famous and very popular. He was like a god in France, not in Spain, in France. That is funny.
John Mangini of Staten Island. Tonight's is a highly entertaining show. Alfredo Kraus, your Werther was exquisite. I saw it twice, and you were particularly exquisite with von Stade. And he asks whether you have a ritual on the day of performance. How do you prepare yourself to perform?
No, well, I try to have a nice sleep. I try to get up not very early, about 10 o'clock in the morning or 11 sometimes. And I make a normal life. I have a big lunch around 2:30. And that's all. Then I walk a little, I watch television, or I read, or do something like that, something light. And then I go to the theater an hour and a half before the show. That's all.
Do you not eat certain foods? Do you practice exercises of one sort or another? And do you do vocal exercises?
No, I don't do exercises, vocal exercises every day. It depends. It's not a mathematical system. It depends the opera I am going to sing. It depends how I feel. Sometimes I feel that I need more exercises than other times. And normally I do 10 minutes before I start to sing the opera, when I go into the theater, 1 hour before, and that's all.
You're not a vegetarian, say? Or...
No, I prefer vegetarian. I don't eat a lot of meat. I try to eat more fish, but vegetables and salads I prefer more. The most important part of my diet is vegetarian.
Carmick Williams would like to know, what do you think of Gruberova and Magda Olivero?
Oh, Magda Olivero was a monster.
In what sense? In what sense?
In the bon sense, in the good sense, yes. And I remember the beginning of my career, I did a Traviata with her in Torino, in Italy. And she was a tremendous artist. You know, she makes art with the voice. You know, when I talk about singers, and I don't like to say soprano, tenor. I don't like to be a tenor. I like to be an artist. Then we use the instrument to make art, and Magda Olivero used the voice to make art, and now Gruberova has a beautiful, fantastic voice. The color, the high notes, everything is beautiful in her.
John Gibbons of Irvington, New Jersey. Wonderful program. Alfredo Kraus, I was at your debut. Your voice is just as fresh. Your legato is just as wonderful. Please keep singing.
Thank you.
You have no plans to retire, I take it.
No, I don't think about this. You know, I think that an artist, when he believes that and he knows that the voice is in good conditions, and he has something to say and something to build about. Even if my repertoire is almost always the same, I try to be different in the way that I follow the perfection, and I find a lot of different details every time I repeat an opera. Then I am with the illusion to this career like the first moments of my career.
Leo Hirsch would like to know, what criteria will influence your decision when to retire?
This I don't know. I would like to know, but I hope that when I start to lose something, I will be able to adjust the repertoire to the new conditions. And then if I feel that I have to continue because I have something to say, something to give to the audience, I will adjust the repertoire to the new conditions of the voice.
Is that why you relinquished the part of Arturo in Puritani?
Yeah, of course, because it was for me a big problem, mental problem, just the days before. And you know, I didn't sleep. I didn't. I was so concerned about that I decided on singing anymore. And then I did my last Puritani in Dallas, and then I make the record, and I said that's enough. Finish.
Now, Puritani, according to me, is a low roll with some high notes. The tessitura.
Not really.
No?
No. I think this is a high roll. The whole part is very high.
But if you consider Son Salvo and A Te Così Cantava and Corea Valle,
Oh yes,
they're all centralized.
Is it? No, it's not in the center. It's in what the people say the passaggio.
Passaggio, yes.
Yeah, and then it's high.
Yeah.
It's high, and you know, I could continue to sing like many other singers have a tone down, but I say why? I for 20 years I sang in the pitch. Why I have to continue now in a different tone? I prefer to stop it.
Even though with Sonambula you are prepared to accept the tradition of the lower keys.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Mike Moan of the Bronx, Pedro La Virgen, what's he doing now and where can I get his records?
This I don't know. Records in Spain, of course, you can get it. And he's singing zarzuela, I think so, in Madrid and all around Spain.
I would like to say that I've, over the years, interviewed perhaps 60 celebrity singers. None have I found more stimulating than Alfredo Kraus, and There's no one whose singing I respond to more than his. For me, it's been a very great privilege indeed. I apologize to those of you whose questions we couldn't use owing to time, and I only hope, Alfredo Kraus, that somehow, despite your busy schedule, you were able to return to us here. I'm sure for everyone it was an extraordinary evening, for all the listeners and certainly for myself.